Gotta say, guys, I did not see this one coming. I'll get to Mike Gundy in a moment. Kyle Whittingham is returning as Utah's head coach in 2025. I'm not so certain that BYU isn't the reason why. Because Whittingham's been there for a long time. You know what everybody wants when you've had a long tenure in one particular place? When you become as important to a team, a fan base, a community as Kyle Whittingham is? You want a clean ending. You don't always get it. It doesn't always look like Peyton Manning, which wasn't pretty, but got the win in the Super Bowl riding off into the sunset. It doesn't always work out like Derek Jeter, game-winning base hit in extra innings to send off his final at-bat at Yankee Stadium. Doesn't always go that way. I think if Kyle Whittingham had found a way to beat Utah as Utes fans think they should have, or as Mark Harlan thinks they did, I am not of that particular mindset, but if that game had gone the way it should have at the end, not because of the holding penalty, but because Utah's defense should have been able to come up with a stop there, and yet they were just simply unable to, or the offense should have done, anything at all in the second half. If Utah finds a way to win that game, I think Kyle Whittingham retires. No, it wouldn't have been a perfect, pretty ending, but at least you wouldn't have had that sting in your mouth for the biggest rival that Utah has. So I think BYU, finding a way, as they did during that magical run when they were unbeaten, it came to a close, of course, and I'll talk about them in Colorado and that whole craziness and such, I think BYU winning that game. I think that ate away at Kyle Whittingham because he's named as head coach in waiting, remember? Morgan Scalley, defense coordinator. Yeah, he's going to be the head coach whenever Whittingham retires. And Kyle Whittingham has said, I don't think I'll be the head coach in 2027. So that means you're either out after this season or next year or 2026. He doesn't have that much time left. 2026, I think, is the last possible season he could be coaching in college football. I think he wants to go out successfully. I don't think he wanted to leave a program that feels like it's in more disarray than it has been in quite a long time for his defensive coordinator and say, you know what, this is a mess, you figure it out. I think he wants to give it one last hurrah, and I think he wants to get back at BYU. So if you're happy about Kyle Whittingham returning to Utah as the head coach in 2025, I think you should be thanking BYU. And BYU fans, if you wanted to see Kyle Whittingham return, you thank Jake Retzloff and the rest of the Cougars that found a way to win down by points, 4th and 10 inside your own 10-yard line late in the game. You thank them for that, and then we go from there. So, do I think it's going to work out? Yeah, absolutely could. But the Big 12 is a coaching carousel of stability and familiarity right now because you have Kyle Whittingham at Utah. You have Mike Gundy returning to Oklahoma State. You have Scott Frost returning to UCF. I've got the same opinion on all three of them. I need to see how the offseason goes, of course, for all of them. Of course, you have to know what sort of players they're going to have, how the roster looks, who wins a quarterback battle in spring. All those sorts of things matter a great deal. I don't have a strong sense for any of these guys. Frost, Gundy, Whittingham. If you sent someone back from the future and said, hey, this guy, any one of those three, is having a lot of success, I'd say, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. If you sent someone back from the future and said, hey, this guy's flaming out, I'd go, yeah, I can see that too. None of these hires, or retentions, in the two cases, of course, are making me go, oh, this is going to be a home run, or this is automatically disaster. It's like, you got the opportunity for it to go one way or the other. So we'll see how the offseason goes. Mike Gundy, though, was almost relieved of his duties. I think Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator for the Falcons, would have been a premier coaching target for Oklahoma State because he's a graduate, of course, an OC in the NFL. But Mike Gundy's sticking around, and they're changing their NIL approach, and they're doing all of these things. This is the worst season Mike Gundy's ever had in Stillwater. I'm not breaking any news there, right? Everybody understands that. Everybody gets a one-off. If you were to take a collection of golf scores from someone who is a low single-digit handicap or a scratch golfer, and you looked at their last 20 rounds, on the outset, you might think, if you don't know a lot about what it takes to get your handicap in that particular range, you might think, well, every score is going to be right around 75 or below. There isn't going to be anything above. But if you looked at those scores, you'd probably see a lot of, 72, 73, 75, 76, 72, 73, 74, 82. This was Mike Gundy's 82. He's still a scratch golfer in the coaching world, guys. I've watched him succeed at a really high level for way too long to think, oh, well, he suddenly, but no, had a bad year. It spiraled. He picked the wrong quarterback to believe in. Never liked that move. Didn't think it would go this poorly. Don't know why they weren't able to run the football better with Holly Gordon, but alas, they weren't. And you know what? Sometimes you just got to flush and say, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. I've got a major hitch in my swing, but I'm just going to do what everybody else in college football does or what everybody else in the golf world would do. I'm going to go get a lesson, work on the driving range, come back, ready to roll. What's Mike Gundy going to do? Go hit the transfer portal, stay on the recruiting trail. He's got a couple of new coaches in there, and go make some adjustments for next season. That's, I think, a pretty simple explanation as to how he fixes this. How do you rectify? There's no secret here. Mike Gundy knows it. He's seen plenty of ebbs and flows with the program. If next year is also a down year, yeah, okay, Gundy goes. You can say Mike Gundy goes. But after one season, as catastrophic as it was for Oklahoma State, you don't fire him after one season. He's got too much equity built up. He's proven too much for you to overreact to what is, in the grand scheme of things, so very little. Same thing with Kyle Whittingham. Oh, we want to get him out. Well, what was it, an ideal situation? Look, Utah, please, for the love of all that is holy, pun intended, don't go with Cam Rising at quarterback. Just don't do it. Every Utah quarterback's hitting the transfer portal. If Cam Rising wants to play another year of college football, more power to him. But Utah needs to stop trying this again. Like this just the questions in 2023, and he never played. And the questions this year wasn't the same when he played, and then wasn't able to stay healthy again. Just you gave it a try. It was worth it, but it is definitely time to move on. And one other note on the Big 12 here. The Alamo Bowl is going to be a Big 12 game. This stinks. This stinks. Not because it won't be a fun game. It will be. Might be the most watched Alamo Bowl. Might be the most watched non-playoff bowl game of the season. Because remember, every game that you think of as a New Year's Six Bowl previously is now part of the college football playoff. And the Alamo Bowl was always a matchup that tended to draw a pretty solid television audience. But you put Colorado and the Buffs into that particular game, yeah, it's going to raise the level of interest and intrigue. Putting together two Big 12 teams, I understand how this happened. Colorado was in the Pac-12. The bowl games kept their ties to former Pac-12 schools. I get it. The reason that I think this is, number one, strange, and number two, kind of stinks, is bowl season can still serve a purpose. You can still get a barometer for where teams are. I'm not saying it's a perfect measurement across the board, but you could still get an understanding of, hey, this league versus that league, or this one was good, that one isn't good. What do you learn in this game? What are you going to learn? Which team was actually more qualified to make the Big 12 championship game, but didn't get in because of all the tiebreakers and such? Both went 7-2 in conference play, but neither one got to get in because of tiebreakers, and this team didn't beat that team and all that. That doesn't show us anything. I mean, it can give a glimpse into the future. I suppose, I guess, I'm just disappointed that there is a bowl game out there between two teams from the same conference. That's not what bowl season has ever been about. It is not always a perfect measurement with the opt-outs. It doesn't mean it gives you zero information about how good these conferences actually are or which teams were really good. Ole Miss, for instance. Ole Miss is going to have everybody opt into their bowl game after getting left out of the college football playoff, and Lane Kiffin saying, oh, we should be in, look at our record, our resume, and all this sort of stuff. They're playing Duke, who's not going to have Malik Murphy, of course, because, well, he's looking elsewhere. If Ole Miss, with everybody playing, loses that football game, that's a blow to the SEC. Significant blow if you lose to Duke's backup quarterback. I don't suspect they will, but crazier things have happened in college football before. And that's just one example of what bowl season for the non-playoff teams can still show us. And having that aspect removed, it's strange and I think just unfortunate.